I'm Craig Kenneth, a relationship coach and a psychotherapist. Every relationship is different and every breakup is different. Work with me and you'll get professional help on your situation. And if you're in no contact, focused on personal growth, my workbook series, The Knowledge, will help you make changes like you've never made before. Available now at AskCraig.net. Hi there, I'm Coach Craig Kenneth, and in this video, I'm going to be talking to you about the internal conflict of the dumper. So if you're in a situation where somebody's ended the relationship, they're not sure about things with you anymore, they're giving you mixed messages, you're probably wondering what they're feeling, what they're thinking, what they're going through. Because a lot of times it looks like they don't care. They're often cold and mean, they don't want to talk to you. And you get this feeling sometimes like they never even cared about you. But believe it or not, they're going through a lot more than they're going to let on to. And I have seen this a lot over the years. I just understand that there tend to be a lot of things that they're going through that they're not going to share with you, that they're not going to open up about, because a lot can happen if they do. It's like if they start to open up and get vulnerable with you, the floodgates are going to open. You're going to bombard them with questions and, trying to see them and trying to talk to them and reaching out to them. And so a big reason that the ex or your ex gets cold in a situation like a breakup is because they have to make their decision. Okay, this is something like people need to do when they're making a decision. They need to be kind of definitive, they need to process it, and they need to think about it. But when we are begging and pleading and we're so overwhelmed with anxiety, it doesn't allow the space for them to think about what they may need or what they want. But I'm going to talk about the internal struggles that I see, because this is a good topic and I'm going to revisit it again. But I had come up with such a good email coaching that I was like, oh, this is a good one to help people understand that exes go through so much more than you realize. Because, you're looking at their behavior. They're mean, they're cold, they're unfriending you, they're blocking you. They act like, you're harassing them. Well, some of you are, but it can happen so quick that it's almost like they expect you to be okay with the breakup right away and that you're not going to try and repair things. But that is what human beings do. We bond, we form connections, and that is our biological drive inside of us trying to repair that connection, because we are wired to be communal and have connections. That's what keeps us safe. We're not like many animals out there that may be able to fly away or crawl in a shell or something like that, right? So for us, we feel like life is ending when we're going through a breakup or we're feeling that loss, that separation from somebody else. But they're not feeling it so much when they're making the decision. Now, over time, that absolutely changes, but only when you leave them alone. The more you reach out, the more you do things like grand gestures, handwritten letters, all those kind of things, the more likely they're going to get colder with you and brush you off even harder. Okay. But one of the things that they've been thinking about while they were with you is, do they want to risk losing you? And what happens is they go through this kind of struggle in their mind where they think about breaking up with you and ending it for whatever reason, because there are so many different reasons that people break up, but they're going through this struggle. Do I end it? And I don't know if I want to end it. I don't know if I want to go through with it. But if you start to do, insecure behaviors, it's going to make them more likely to end it. If you display confident behaviors, they're less likely to end the relationship. But it's hard to know when you're going through it, because we get caught in this dynamic that we're used to day in and day out, where we don't think that people are going to leave us. But things build up: arguments, fights, neglect, not meeting each other's needs, not feeling safe, not feeling cared about. There's so many different things that happen, but they're going to struggle with this, and they're going to struggle with, do I want to lose this person? But people really struggle with these conflicts in their mind that they're often not going to share with you. Sometimes they do, and sometimes we freak out, right? They may say something and you're like, wait, what? And then you kind of lose emotional self-control. So this is why you have to work on your attachment issues, so when those things happen, you stay centered. But people are going to have these conflicts. In fact, you probably felt at some point during this relationship that you weren't happy and that you were going to end it, right? Many people do. It's just that you thought, well, we could work through it, and you cared enough to try and stay and fight for it and work through it. But sometimes those things just keep building up to the point where they can't take it anymore. And they just, it's like something in the back of their mind that's just keeps nudging them to end it. And so they struggle with it. Am I going to lose this person? I have to find out. I can't stay in this anymore. But the sooner you give them the breakup, and the sooner that you're okay with it and you don't try and change their mind, the faster they're going to have to face that regret, right? Because initially they're not facing that regret. They're okay, they're confident, they feel good, especially when you're trying to change their mind. You're begging, you're pleading, you're trying to manipulate. What are they afraid of losing? They're not afraid of losing somebody when they're doing that. There's no reason to be afraid of. So you have to remind yourself, the more that you try and change their mind, the smaller the risk of losing you. Okay? And then they take you for granted more. But, when you're going through it and you're wondering if your ex still cares, if they're thinking about you, if they're feeling the loss, what they're going through, many people are just convinced that they know what their ex is feeling and thinking, and they're never going to come back. They're not missing you. They don't care. I can tell you there's a lot more going on under that surface than they're going to let on. They can't lower their guard with you because you will bombard them. So I see so many comments that say things like, oh, it's been a month of no contact and I haven't heard from them. They don't care. That is not true at all. Now, maybe they didn't show you that they've cared yet, but that doesn't mean that they don't, okay? Just because somebody doesn't tell you something doesn't mean they're not thinking or feeling something. Or maybe they just don't care yet. If you've been reaching out repeatedly, not respecting their decision, trying to change your mind for a long time, then of course it's going to take them time to feel that space, okay? That distance, where they feel like they might be losing you, that they might be losing the relationship. It takes time to get there. Unfortunately, it's kind of like the opposite for the dumper and the dumpee. The dumper usually feels relieved at first because they had to make a difficult decision, something that's been weighing on their mind, weighing on their heart for a while, and they finally went through with it. They went through all the challenges of telling you, opening up, risking losing you, having those difficult conversations, and the dumpee feels powerless, hopeless, sad. We feel so much loss and grief, and both of these things are natural and normal for these things to happen. But you want to stop reaching out when this happens, because if you want that dumper to feel the loss, you've got to give them time and space. You have to let them reach out when they're ready. My inspiration for this particular video was this email coaching that I had just done. But if you'd like us to do another video on it, let us know and we can cover it again, me and Victoria. But this is a really good email coaching because you're going to see the struggles of this dumper, okay? And it makes sense. You guys are so often villainizing your ex, but a lot of times your ex has very valid reasons for ending the relationship. I did another email coaching today where a woman had bad behavior, and it was like, honestly, I wouldn't stay with a partner who said and did the things that she did, and yet she was feeling like the rug got pulled out from under her. Well, it's because of your own behavior. But this is why I'm always telling you, work on your attachment issues. Do that creative healing course in the workbooks every day. You will see a major change within yourself. You will be more confident and you will understand relationships better than you ever have. So this is from a guy in his mid-30s, and he was dating a woman in her late 40s. Now, they were both coming out of relationships when they met. But the big issue is that she came out of a 25-year marriage. That is massive, okay? It takes time to come out of a marriage that long. You have to be ready for it. But look and see what happens here. I don't think she intended to wind up in a relationship, but you know those chemicals, and you start to spend time with somebody, and you start to like them. He said, "We started as friends, but soon enough we became romantically involved. For over a year, we had a beautiful relationship full of love, respect, and understanding. We never fought and grew close to each other's friends and families." Look at that. That's a great start with one tiny but major problem. She is coming out of a 25-year marriage. She's only in her late 40s. That means she got married in her fairly early to mid 20s and really never had the opportunity to be single. She didn't have the time to individuate, to find out who she was, who she is, to date. You want to date people, see what else is out there. It's a big problem in this situation. Because as you can see, he did a lot right. But what do you think is going to happen? As soon as I started reading this one, I had ideas, and a lot of them happened. Watch. However, things began to change in May of this year. Melissa started pulling away, saying she needed space. Okay, no surprise. You know, she's been with him for, I don't know, was it a little over a year here? Something like that. And all of a sudden she needs space. Now, if you have attachment wounds, which many of us do, your instinct is going to be to chase, over pursue, beg, all that stuff. But this is why you have to do that work, because it comes out with the people we care about most, that we're the most attached to. Okay, I talk to people all the time that are like, "I'm great with dating. I don't have any problems. It's just this one particular person." Yeah, you know why that is? Because that's the person you're attached to. Those are your attachment issues. And you got to work on it, because you're going to risk making mistakes with the people that you care about the most. I didn't give her space as she asked and stayed in her life. We continued doing things as a couple until early summer, but she hinted she wanted to date other men, saying she never really dated and got married very young. And that is true. You can't fault this woman. It's absolutely fair for her to feel like this. Who wouldn't feel like this? Could you imagine being around 50 years old and you've spent 25 years of your adult life married? That really means she only had 5 years or so, like 18 to 23-ish, where she was single and dating. And I don't know, she was married 25 years. Maybe she was with that guy longer, right? So maybe she's never dated anybody. And so this is a huge internal struggle. I'm sure she thinks this guy is great. He was great to her. They had a strong connection. Look at the way he described it. You know, he said how wonderful it was. It was filled with love and respect and understanding. Their friends and families were getting along. It wasn't about him. It was about her never really having the opportunity to date. He goes on to say, "This caused tension between us." Yeah, I could see why. All of a sudden, he's going to be set off with that abandonment. Oh, she's going to leave me. She's going to leave me for another guy. She's telling me she wants to date other guys. That's not going to feel good. And most people in this situation are going to get overwhelmed with anxiety and loss and fear of losing the person that you love. Totally understandable. This led to many arguments, but we continued talking daily and sharing intimate moments. In August, we went on a date that seemed perfect, full of emotions and connection. But the next morning, I woke up to a breakup text from her saying she's feeling hurt and confused. I called her immediately. Okay, so here is another struggle, right? She's saying it. I'm confused. I want to be with you. I love you. But I also want to date other people. I also want to know what it's like to be single and be free. And after a 25-year marriage, that would be totally understandable. Melissa told me she had been emotional and hadn't slept after the date. See that? She's struggling. This isn't easy for her. She's telling him. She didn't sleep. She's emotional. She's upset. She also admitted that she had joined a dating app and been talking to other men. Okay, so remember, there seemed to be like a month or so where they kind of were seeing each other, but it sounds like they weren't exclusive anymore, or she had at least hinted she wanted to date other people. But, I mean, I'm not surprised. She just wasn't ready. I was devastated. Yeah, totally understandable. I would be devastated in this situation like this too. And I have been, and I've talked about that. We argued, and she hung up on me. And then, see, here we go. He's trying to make these bids to connect. He wants to repair it. Totally understandable. And she gets cold and meaner. And now she's hanging up on him. Despite my efforts to reach out, see, this is where it's going to spiral. This is where he's going to make it worse. These are these attachment issues coming out. Despite my efforts to reach out, she blocked my number and turned off her Facebook. Eventually, she unblocked me and I called her. See, he's making so many mistakes here. I don't know if he was watching the channel yet, but all these are mistakes, right? He should have just left her alone. Just because she unblocked you, you don't reach out. You let her reach out. But this is what I'm telling you. This is that anxiety. This is what you have to learn to heal. And that's what my creative healing course especially is going to help you do. Okay. I called her. She told me she cared about me, but needed to start dating, and I need to move on. Brutal. It's just so painful. Upset, I texted her on Instagram, and we had a strange conversation. Part argument, part attempt at reconciliation. Yeah, we know which part came from who. Melissa reiterated that she wanted to date other men and that our relationship was over. And what did I talk about extensively at the start of this video? When you push, they double down. Had he left her alone and let her go off to see what life was like without him, she would be a lot more likely to fear losing him and to think I'm making a mistake. But he's pressuring. He's trying to manipulate. He's hurt. He's scared. He's angry. He's overwhelmed with emotions. Scary emotions. Emotions that make us feel out of control. And it's letting him overtake his behavior, which you can't do. She said she felt alone since the springtime, even though we were still together. Maybe, but I think she was just looking for a reason to give him. She has to give him a reason to end this. And the way he described it, it sounded pretty good. Maybe she was feeling alone because she didn't know what she wanted anymore. I think that's what it was. And she felt like, I have to separate, I have to back away, I have to pull away. And she was alone with this decision of knowing that she's going to end this. On the following Monday, she messaged me on Instagram saying she would only communicate with me through Instagram for the time being. She assured me that she didn't want to block me, but she needed some space. I told her how hurt I was and that I felt unappreciated. Don't do it. Don't say those things. Don't do those things. They're not going to help reattract somebody. Melissa then said she was removing her Instagram app because our messages were too painful for her, but she would reinstall it later to recommunicate. That weekend, I accidentally saw Melissa on a date with someone else. Accidentally? I guess? I don't know. Don't stalk. If you were stalking, don't stalk. It's going to make it worse. They didn't see me. I was devastated. Oh, here's another mistake. And sent her a message, but she ignored it. See, don't reach out. You can't reach out. I know you're getting overwhelmed with emotions, but you gotta leave someone alone in these situations. You're only going to make it easier for her to leave. The next day she texted me asking how I was doing, and we began talking again. We even met for a drink later that week. However, things felt tense between us. We had an emotional conversation about the breakup and dating others. Melissa admitted she was seeing other men, but didn't like any of them. Yeah, you see, you gotta leave people alone. You want to see if the grass is greener on the other side? Adios. But don't think that I'm waiting around. You don't want to let people think you're waiting around, that you're begging or chasing them, trying to keep them in your life. We even kissed and held each other. Afterward, here we go. I texted her, but quickly returned to becoming cold. You see, you were chasing again. All you needed to do was let her come back to you when she was ready. We argued again, and she reminded me of a painful memory from her birthday last year. She said she wanted to be happy this year and suggested we stop speaking for a while. In the middle of August, we agreed to this, but like a fool, I called her. A few days later, we talked about our issues and she became cold and mean. You see, this is all happening because you won't leave her alone. You are not giving her the space. You're chasing her. All of this is making it so much worse. She said she had checked out of the relationship in the spring and wasn't attracted to me anymore and wasn't emotionally satisfied. Yeah, she's not attracted to you because of your behavior. She also revealed that she's getting serious with another guy. Eye roll. She had been seeing. I was shocked and hurt, but tried to defend our relationship. None of this is helping. She apologized, saying she still cared about me and was still attracted to me. She hung up and I continued trying to reach out, but she blocked me again. I messaged her on Instagram, and she told me that the only reason she blocked me was that I couldn't leave her alone when she asked. She said she needed time to know if she was happy without me in her life. Now, it feels like she's in another relationship and I'm devastated. Her birthday is coming up and I don't know if I should reach out. Have I ruined everything? Well, you're making a lot of mistakes. Okay, so maybe you're new to the channel. Maybe you're just finding us. Don't reach out for her birthday. Don't reach out to her anymore. Let this woman see what it's like to be without you. She hasn't been single in 25 years. Let her. Be confident in who you are and how you showed up in her life. The more you do this, the more it looks like she's making a good decision. But you keep spiraling out of control here. You can't do these things and expect somebody to want to come back. You have to show them confident, secure behavior. And unfortunately, a lot of these things are insecure behavior. Now, I don't think it's gotten to the place where it's totally done here. She needs to see what life is like without you. That's going to take her some time. Allow her that time and space. Let's see what she does. You know, I know it hurts to see that she's dating other people, but the last thing you want is to try and get serious with her before she has an opportunity to be single. She'll just be 1 foot in, 1 foot out the rest of the relationship. A lot going on in this one. So hopefully this was helpful. And of course, if you want to get my help personally, you can do that on my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Skype. You can get my knowledge workbooks only on my website and also my creative healing course. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth, and I will talk with you soon.